You're listening to a show on the Planet Film podcast feed.
Hi, I'm Sean Monk.
And I'm TJ Cornwall.
And this is the Planet Film Podcast.
Excellent!
All right, like we said, welcome back to the Planet Film Podcast. So, before we get into anything, we just want to let you know again, we do have episode 2 up now of our Planet Council show, the All Star Wars show. We took a look at the Star Wars, the Skywalker Legacy documentary that came out with The Rise of Skywalker. It gets pretty heated towards the end of the conversation, so I would definitely recommend checking that out. If you are interested in Star Wars or not, it's definitely an interesting episode to listen to get all of our thoughts on there. Again, you can find this show at the hashtag or at Planet Film Pod on Twitter, or you can always get in touch with us by emailing us at planetfilmpod@gmail.com. So how have you been? What have you been up to? What have you been doing, this last week? Still in the quarantine?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get into it later. We've been gearing up. We're in the next few weeks, we're going to be going back to work.
Yeah.
I know you are. I don't know about me yet. But maybe at this rate, we will. Every day I lose kind of hope. I lose hope I'm going to get a new job. So, but no, I've been playing Last of Us Part 2. It just came out last week.
Yeah, I think so.
I really like it. It's very story heavy. Like, in my opinion, there's a lot of cutscenes. It says on my saves, I've been playing it for 8 hours. So I don't even feel like I'm like even halfway through the game yet. I thought I heard that it was like a 30-hour some game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only gripe, like, there's a few like twists and stuff like that so far that I've had through. The only gripe I have about this game, and then you probably heard me last night when I was telling you and Brandon, is that I feel like the game forces you to be combative. So you're forced to use your guns and everything with the limited ammo you have. I prefer like to kind of stealthily like take people down. So like I prefer like obviously Last of Us isn't like Batman or Spider-Man, but it's Batman and Spider-Man when you're like swinging it from the ceiling and you're taking guys out silently. I like that kind of combat.
Yeah, like the silent takedown.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, so there's like an option for that, but you really have to like there's times where if you like when I'm streaming it and I'm like slowly going up and then they turn around. I'm like, I'm not even making any noise.
Yeah, and that's like that's for those who don't know, in addition to the podcast, me and TJ both stream on Twitch. And I have been, I've started the first Last of Us, and now I'm also streaming through the Battlefront 2 campaign. And both of those games have like the silent takedown things.
Yeah.
Like the Battlefront one is super similar to the Spider-Man and Arkham one, where you crouch, sneak up, and then you do like the chokehold, like bring them down. But also in the first Last of Us, I'm about 2, maybe 3 hours into that game.
Yeah.
And that's a big mechanic. Is the listening and sneaking up and stuff. So I'm surprised that they changed that up in this.
I mean, it might be just me. I don't know. When I played the first one, it was probably like a year or two. It was definitely more than a year ago. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago. Because I played it when it was remastered on PS4. But like, yeah, it's just like you can hide and stuff like that. And obviously when they get closer to you, like you're going to get got, like they're going to see you.
Yeah.
But as soon as you take somebody down, I always feel like there's no time because there's so many enemies. There's no time to go run and hide after that. Like you're immediately caught. And it's like, okay, well now I have to get into a gunfight with, I got like 10 bullets in my pistol and 10 bullets in my, shotgun. Or 5, and then that's all I have. And then if I don't kill everybody in that time, well, I'm screwed. And I have to go melee. And sometimes melee is like they have a weapon. Enemies have a weapon, so like a crossbar. And if you try a crowbar. If you try to attack them, they'll like shove you off. And I'm like, okay, now what? If I can't get rid of their crowbar, then how am I supposed to attack them? But overall, I think it's so far it's like a good game. It's people are calling when the reviews came up. Some people were calling it like a masterpiece. I don't know if it's a masterpiece. I don't even know if it's better than the first one. I'd probably have to replay the first one to get a good gauge, but it's basically what I've been up to.
I saw I think it was a tweet. I think it was a tweet. Might have been an Instagram. Actually, no, it was an Instagram post because it had the two pictures side by side. Somebody said that this game reminds them of Incredibles 2. That if it was not so hyped up, it would be a great game. You know what I mean? It would be a masterpiece. But because you're like Last of Us 2, oh my God, what are they going to do?
Exactly
what are they going to do? Yeah, like exactly. And I think that's how a lot of the fans were, and a lot of the people anticipated for the game was. And I think it's just one of those things where you just can't live up to that level of expectation.
Yeah.
I think
a game that I will recommend to you that I might be playing when it comes out in July, which I wasn't sure, I didn't really know about. I heard stuff about it, like watching like videos on YouTube and stuff. Called Ghosts of Tsushima, I believe it is. It's like a samurai type game.
Oh.
It looks like from the trailers, it looks beautiful. So I don't know like what the story is or anything, but I'm like partly interested in that game. But
yeah, that sounds cool. I definitely sounds cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I will at some point be playing Last of Us 2. I don't know when, because I've just, like I said, I'm playing like 4 different games right now for the YouTube channel, and then I just started Battlefront 2 again last night. So I'll get there eventually. But I already bought it. It's finally downloaded. You know what? Let me just talk about that really quick. Actually, it just reminded me. The world needs to do something better about internet service providers. The one that I have is just very annoying. I had about a 3-hour phone call with them to try and get faster internet, to try to not have it drop out when I'm doing streams and stuff. I bought a brand new router. So basically, I had that long phone call with them. They just kept telling me to, restart the modem, do all this stuff. None of it worked. Nothing changed. I pay for the ultra internet package because I have so many like devices and I use the internet so heavily. And so then finally, I was like, well, they can't seem to do anything, so let me buy a new router. So I bought a new router off of Amazon. I got like the Netgear Nighthawk, and it worked. It had a markable increase on the speed test for the internet. And so then I called and I was just like, okay, this is like, you guys are charging me an arm and a leg for this service.
Yeah.
And I was able, this is just kind of like a, what do you call it?
A first world problem?
A first world problem, but also they would call it the internet would call it a flex, right?
Yeah.
That I called them and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're charging me way too much. So I was able to magically, get them. I finally got the TV package removed because we barely use it anyways. And I was able to get them to drop my my monthly price down from, they were having me at $170. I got it down. Yeah, I got it down to $89.99. So I got them to drop it like a ton, which is nice. And finally, and I don't want to jinx it, so for headphone users, I don't know how loud this is going to be, but knock on wood. Hopefully, my internet is in a good place right now. I streamed for like 4 hours straight last night, and it was fine. But that has definitely been the biggest thing going on in my week, is finally, hopefully, getting the internet back in order, which is nice. So with chit-chat out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into new news. Now, I know last week, guys, we had a ton of news to cover. We had like, I think maybe 20 stories that we had to then even cut back further. Mm-hmm. And we still went for like an hour just on the news. But luckily this week, I was messaging TJ and he was messaging me being like, this is going to be a pretty light story for news. One of the stories we're going to talk about kind of evolved early in the week. And then that was really going to be our big thing. Then today there was like 8 news stories, including probably one of the biggest comic book news droppings in comic book movie history, probably, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have, unfortunately, also something that came out today and something that came out a few days ago. So we did have 2, I would say monumental, 2 very big deaths, unfortunately, in the Hollywood community, in the Hollywood sphere. First one was just today. Reports just came out, a few hours ago, that Joel Schumacher has passed away at the age of 80 due to cancer. I'm not sure what form of cancer it was, but cancer in any form. I definitely know people that have had it. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Obviously it's awful, terrible. It said, it was a relatively brief battle with it. Sounds like it was just over like the last year or so.
Okay.
That he had it. But he was 80. Again, we talked about this last week with Dennis O'Neil, that these days, especially in Hollywood, when you see people like in their 80s and like 70s passing away, you're like, these people, and obviously some people don't want to work, like.
Yeah.
Something we might talk about later, Jack Nicholson. He's still Jack Nicholson, and I would say like Gene Hackman too.
Yeah.
They retired. They were like, you know what, I'm just going to live out the rest of my years, not doing anything. But you have Joel Schumacher and the other person we're going to talk about, who are such prolific people in Hollywood. That just worked so consistently. Not so much in the last couple of years, but you wonder if they had maybe. Like if Joel Schumacher had like one more stellar, directing performance in the tank, or something like that. And you take a look at his filmography, which I just have it up here right now. And the one thing that, and I was talking to Rachel earlier about this, who we work with at our job. And the one word that I brought up with her when I was talking about Joel Schumacher's career the 2 words is consistent and versatile.
Okay.
I mean, you look at this guy's career.
Yeah.
I mean, you start off with things like St. Elmo's Fire, which is a beloved, in that John Hughes 80s vein of movies. Then The Lost Boys, which is another huge classic that, people, remember as like that was their big childhood movie. You know what I mean? It's The Lost Boys. Then you go into stuff, then you get into Flatliners, which is another, cult classic from the 80s. And then obviously you get into the heavy hitters once you get into the 1990s, which you get into Batman Forever, showing Val Kilmer's first role, or first go at the Batman role. Well, I should say first and only. You cannot underestimate the directing job on the Seal Kiss from a Rose music video that Joel Schumacher did to tie into Batman Forever. One of the best songs of all time. Then you have A Time to Kill, which, is a big movie that a lot of people like, with, Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock. And then you get into Batman and Robin, say what you will about his Batman movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to talk about that later on. We have a Batman heavy show today. Batman is definitely the theme, as well as obviously then our review, which we will get to. We're going to be reviewing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, so stick around for that. And then, you get into stuff like Phone Booth with Colin Farrell, which is a big hit. And then Number 23 with Jim Carrey, one of his darker films. And then also, he has a very widely regarded, one of the better film interpretations of the Phantom of the Opera. People think of that as the quintessential Phantom movie. Obviously, on stage, there's tons of different versions, but this is the movie, the one with Patrick Wilson, Emmy Rossum, and Gerard Butler. Definitely, helped catapult some of their careers forward, as well as just being a good movie as a whole. And then that's really where it kind of drops off from there, because then, he gets up into his later years. He kind of takes that route where he decides, to kind of slow down his output and stuff. He winds up doing the last two credits here are 2 episodes of House of Cards, which, their rating on here look pretty good. I watched that show. I know you did too, but there's just so many episodes. It's like, it's hard to pinpoint, especially when the episode is called Chapter 6. Like, it's very, very memorable. But I'm sure in those earlier seasons, there wasn't really a weak episode among them. So, definitely good there with the quality of that. It's just definitely something that you don't really see directors, when you think of like Steven Spielberg or Tarantino, like directors get hired because of their specific style. And it's like Joel Schumacher, definitely when you look at the Batman movies, had a sense of style. But he was also somebody that was able to tone that down and just output, whatever the studio or the writer or whatever the vision was for that movie, he was able to do that. And, that's just not something you see all the time. So either way, definitely a huge loss with Joel Schumacher. It's one of those that, like, you don't really, when you hear that name, you don't really think that he was that old. You don't really think that, but a sad loss, nonetheless. We definitely will be talking more about some of his films a little bit later.
Even though, like, I haven't seen like the only movies that he's made that I've seen are the Batmans, but his name is always like as soon as they say that name, like, I know who they're talking about. Like, I'm never like,
exactly,
who is that director?
Yeah, it's something that no matter what kind of a film fan you are, or even if you aren't a film fan, you probably at some point have seen one of his movies. Even if you don't know it, and you might even love one of his movies and you don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, he's got such a wide range. Like, I know I was telling you, when my mom first heard the news, her first reaction was, "Oh my God, like, I love St. Elmo's Fire." Like, that was like her quintessential Joel Schumacher movie. And, my sister's a big fan of the Phantom of the Opera. So, it's a lot of different people, kind of taking that loss right now. And then another loss, unfortunately, we had earlier in the week was Ian Holm, the legendary actor of both stage and screen, passed away at the age of 88. Now, obviously, first thing you have to talk about is his portrayal of Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings films, as well as reprising it, 10 years later in the Hobbit films. Fantastic. I really don't know what else to say. Like,
whenever I think of Lord of the Rings, that's the first name that comes to my mind is Bilbo. Yeah,
exactly. And it's just like it's just so tough, because it's like he was just such first of all, like, you hear these stories that, he also, I should note that it is Sir Ian Holm. He was knighted. Yeah. He was a Tony winner, a BAFTA winner, Academy Award nominated. He was definitely, if you want to talk about prolific on his, you look at 137 IMDb credits, and that does not include anything that he did on the stage. That is remarkable. And also, another thing that you want to talk about too is, besides Bilbo, another big character that he's known for, obviously, is, you go all the way back to the beginning of his career, I should say, and you have him in Alien playing Ash, who is, the first introduction to kind of the whole robot android, is it connected to Blade Runner, Weyland-Yutani version of that? You know what I mean? Like, obviously the first movie is about the alien, but when you track back where that franchise has gone and how much it deals with Weyland-Yutani and androids, and you look at, Michael Fassbender's, I should say, characters in the Alien franchise, it all stems back from Ash, and it stems back from, that we wouldn't have Bishop, who was the next, great android in that series, played by Lance Henriksen, there would be no Bishop. There would be no David without Ash in that very first film. And Ian Holm is the one who brought that character to life, and scared the crap out of me, and I'm sure thousands and thousands of other people with what happens to him in that movie. But then you even look, for the video game Alien Isolation, he reprised the role.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
In 2014. You're talking almost 40 years later. He reprised the role. He is at this point 82 years old, doing the character again at 82 years old for a video game, which I don't. Do you know, was that game done with motion capture, or was that just voiceover? I'm not sure.
I know you can play it in VR.
I'm not sure on that. But either way, the fact that he's like, you know what, at 82 years old, I'm going to take on the challenge of trying to get back in that headspace where I was at 40 years ago to reprise this character for this video game, which is awesome because it gives you more of a character that, people love. And then, you just look, those are the two big ones. But you look in between here. You see him in Chariots of Fire, Ratatouille, Hamlet. You have all these. I'm just scrolling through here, so I'm just reading them off. You just have all the Time Bandits. You have just all of these crazy, crazy roles that he has played. He was in a version of Les Mis as well.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how versatile an actor he was and how long he worked. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Oh yeah. Also, Fifth Element. He was in the Fifth Element.
Oh shit! I didn't even see that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just if you could go through this. He was in Day After Tomorrow, Garden State. Garden State. I saw a post from Zach Braff, saying that Ian Holm, Zach Braff, I believe. Let me double check here. Yeah, Zach Braff directed Garden State. It was his first time ever directing. He wrote this lovely piece about how Ian Holm, who at that time was, massive actor. This is post Lord of the Rings, right after Return of the King came out. And he posted how Ian Holm took a chance on him and said, I like some of your acting work. I'll be in your movie. And he said that was a huge break for him because it legitimized the movie by having someone of the caliber of Ian Holm in your film. And then he went on a run here in the early 2000s. Because then right after that, you have Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, 2003, Garden State right after that, Day After Tomorrow right after that, The Aviator right after that.
Yeah.
And then, you get into, Lord of War, and then you get into Ratatouille, which is, he played Skinner, the little angry chef guy in that movie, who, is definitely a fan favorite character. And, it's just, he just did so much serious work and so much, family work too. He was definitely a beloved actor by any really type of fan, genre fans with Alien, sci-fi fantasy fans with Lord of the Rings, and then just film fans with his, amazing dramatic work in things like Chariots of Fire and other stuff, and The Aviator. So definitely, him and both Ian Holm and Joel Schumacher will definitely be missed. Definitely two big losses. And, if you want to experience any of their work, there is no shortage of things to watch.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, encourage you to go out, take a look at some of the stuff that they've done. But with that, let's go ahead and move on. This week we have a lot of good news. Let's start off with some good news, then some really stupid news, and then some more good news after that.
Okay.
So the first one is good news. So a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point, it was announced that the Hamilton movie, or Hamilton Hamilton film is what they're calling it. Originally, that film was supposed to come out theatrically in 2021. Due to the lockdown, due to COVID and everything, Disney decided to not only make it Disney Plus, but to move it up an entire year. So now I believe it's coming out August 2020.
I think it's July. I thought it was July. I think
oh,
it's like July
you're right.
3rd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right, because it's for 4th of July.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's now coming out in July 2020. So they moved it up a whole year and put it on Disney Plus, so it's accessible to anyone and everyone that wants to see it. But one of the criticisms, or not criticisms, but maybe worries, I would say, one of the worries of fans of the show was that the show swears. It swears not a ton, but I would say impactfully. So it's a couple big moments that the F word, saying it really packs a punch, really lends itself to the story. And people were worried because it was going on Disney Plus that would not be in there, and it would kind of take away from the punch of some of those moments. They were worried that Disney would have to kind of like sanitize it a little bit. But Lin-Manuel Miranda himself took to Twitter today to clear it up. He said, just so you guys know, I know some of you are worried about it. He said Disney Plus will give a fuck. So they will, and he said they will give one fuck.
Yeah.
So basically he said the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association, said they can have one, without getting into an R-rated territory, which obviously Disney does not want it to be R-rated on their service, which, makes sense. We've talked many times about how Disney Plus is family-oriented. And so he said flat out, he said, these are the 3 lines that have the F word in it, where it's going to be muted out of this line and muted out of this line. And this is the one that it'll stay in. I don't have the exact lines in front of me right now. But, I think on Lynn's part, definitely great. It's really the only thing that was holding people back from being head over heels for this news. And he just kind of cleared it up right away so that people can really just get in and enjoy the show. So what do you think about that?
I mean, in any case, even if they did like censor them, it's Disney's streaming platform, so they can kind of do whatever they want to do. I think it's good news. I don't understand why this took so long to put out. I don't understand that. Like, why? I don't understand why they were originally doing it for 2021 if it's pre-recorded already.
I think the trouble was, yes, it's pre-recorded, but think about it. You're pre-recording a live performance. That's a lot of post-audio work and a lot of editing and stuff to get the right shots. Clearly, it did not take that long to put it in 2021. But I believe this was because it was a recording when Lynn had the long hair, and I believe
the original cast.
The original cast and everything. So it had to be, not too long ago, but it had to be a good amount ago. I would have to guess probably before Mary Poppins went into production.
Oh yeah.
So they've probably just been sitting on it for a couple of years, and then we're like, you know what? With the lockdown and everything, how fast can we get this thing out? Let's throw some more people on it, really get it going, get it going a little bit faster. But that's probably my guess. Is just it's a lot of post work that had to be done on it, especially on the audio side. I'm sure they'd want to put out, especially with the audio end of it. I'm sure they want to put out the absolute best sounding production that they can.
I'm excited for it. I've seen it live once.
You have seen it live?
Yeah, I saw it at Shays.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I really liked it. I like the soundtrack. I'm interested to see just the original cast. The cast I saw was good, obviously, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, so when it came to Shays, I remember this news was already out that there was going to be a film. Because my mother was like, "Oh, do you want to try and get tickets?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna wait because I don't want to see anything of it until I see it in this film version." Because I was like, I just want to see it that way. That way I can. I don't know. It was just kind of one of those weird things that I was just like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna watch it. That's what it was. I was like, I want to watch it with the original cast because everybody says that's the best way to watch it. I don't want my first version to be without Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
Because he really, like, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself and the viewers or listeners, I think the first thing I ever saw Lin-Manuel Miranda in was his cameo on Curb Your Enthusiasm season 9.
Oh yeah.
Where he's doing he's battling off against Larry that whole season, and it ends with the what do you want to call it, the paintball war between the two of them. I think that was honestly the first thing I ever saw him in, and then obviously, I don't know if I've ever talked about it on this show, but Mary Poppins Returns is one I think is a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite outputs from Disney live action in the past 15 years. And I think a lot of that is due to him. I love the character in there. I love all the music that he helped write for that movie as well. And I just really like the music and stuff that he does. I think he worked on Moana and Frozen 2 and a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, so I am definitely interested. Can't wait. Actually, at this point, it would be 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
it's going to be coming out. It's pretty soon. So I will definitely be watching that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. Is the story that I was talking about that was originally going to be really our only big news, and then all of a sudden today, we had that big influx of news, which is earlier in the week there was and we just want to disclose, we've talked about it before. Both TJ and myself are employees at AMC Theatres. So we do work for AMC. So hopefully nothing happens with us talking about this. I don't think it will, but just to be honest with you guys, we do work for the company. But AMC earlier this week, after Regal announced that it would be reopening theaters, I believe Regal said July 17th.
Yeah.
News started to come out that AMC will be reopening on July 15th. Now, very quickly after that news, people started reading their policies and their reopening strategies and realized that they will not be requiring masks. So where the state and local authorities require masks, they will have to, and I should say, they always said that the employees must wear masks, but this is just specifically for the guests. They said where local authorities require it, you will have to wear a mask. Where they don't, it will be up to you. But they are going to be selling masks for $1 at the theaters. The internet exploded, erupted.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, what was your original thoughts when you saw that they were not going to be requiring masks for the patrons?
I just shook my head because I don't know if you probably didn't mention it, but the CEO's quote was, "We did not want to get ourselves entangled in a political controversy."
Yeah, it's that was the direct quote from CEO Adam Aaron.
But you already did by saying that you're not going to require masks.
Exactly.
So basically, it's a double-edged sword. You're screwed if you do, and you're screwed if you don't.
Yeah.
People are going to complain that they don't want to wear masks. But it also just, and I've been working at AMC since I was 16. It's my first job. I've been here 5 years, a little over 5 years. It just, it almost looks to us as if you don't care. And it's, we don't, and I guarantee that you don't, you probably say the same thing that I'm going to say. A lot of people we work with would probably say the same thing as, we don't work there. We work there for one, to see the movies, and we work there because we like the people we work with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily love the job in any way. I mean, I'm still there because I like generally, I've made a lot of friends. I met my girlfriend there of 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I generally like the people I work with, and that's why I'm still there. And it just sometimes feels like, and I feel like we always say this too. It just sometimes feel like we're not respected because we're the ones who who are, selling the concessions, we're selling the tickets, we're cleaning up after people. And it just shows like a lack of like caring, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel. I imagine you probably feel a little bit the same way, but
yeah, I just think it just shows. I don't know. I think it's just I would say it's disappointing.
Yeah.
That you have something like that, especially the words that were used, with AMC saying, we don't want to get into a political controversy.
Yeah.
And sometimes obviously it's hard to know obviously what's going to happen, how the internet is going to react, how the world's going to react to anything and everything that you say. But I mean, even just saying that, just saying we don't want to get into a political controversy is politically controversial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially for a company that large, when the whole world for months has had its eyes glued to the movie theater industry to see what is going to happen.
What's going to happen.
Exactly. And I think it goes to show you what the difference is, is I think the people upstairs might be doing construction or moving or something. So I apologize if there's any audio issues. I think what it shows you is the difference is AMC puts out the statement, or I shouldn't say AMC. It was a quote from CEO Adam Aron that said, "We do not want to get ourselves involved with a political controversy." The difference is Regal 2 days earlier announced that their plans to reopen.
Yeah.
And also did not require masks.
Yeah.
But because of that additional statement from Adam Aron, it blew up on AMC. Regal had the exact same policy, but nobody was talking about that because Regal just kind of like did it quietly. You know what I mean? Like
Regal's also not the biggest
theater chain in the world.
Yes.
Theater company in the world. With the AMC stateside, is humongous. They also have the Odeon theaters and more internationally and in Europe.
Yeah.
The Odeon theaters were some of the first to close in Italy when, Italy had the virus so bad. You were seeing the awful numbers coming out of Italy. So that was AMC had to make the choice to start closing some of the European theaters the earliest. So then the internet lost its mind.
Yeah.
And the AMC corporate decided to reverse its ruling and has decided to make it absolutely mandatory that at all theaters nationwide, masks for both patrons and employees will be absolutely required.
Yes.
And after they reversed their decision on that, then very quietly, Regal and Cinemark and other big theater chains did follow suit, and they're now making masks mandatory. So, as two theater employees, it's definitely a plus for us knowing that, even for the, obviously we only work at one theater, but knowing that the we know how theaters work and how close everyone is, even if it might not feel like it. I remember even back when we were still open and, Governor Cuomo was lowering the occupancy. That works in the theaters, but you don't really think, okay, that's great. You're limiting a theater going from 150 people to 40 people, but you don't really think, okay, but what happens if all 40 of those people come in at the same time as another 40 people? Now you still have 80 people.
You still have 80 people in the lobby.
Exactly. And I feel like that's something that maybe they just weren't thinking about, or people don't really think about that often. And I think it's a sigh of relief for, me and TJ knowing that nationwide, if there's those situations where, you can have 80 people in the lobby at the same time because they're only limiting the per theater capacity. that all those people will be wearing masks.
And
it's definitely a help.
Just to add on to the movie theater chain,
Yeah.
This was, I guess, June 19th. I just saw it on the latest movie news sidebar on Hollywood Reporter. Cineplex in Canada will not be requiring face masks.
Oh boy! All right, well.
So I'm interested to see what happens with that. Obviously, there's no Cineplexes here in the United States, but I know they're like the biggest in Canada. I don't know if they're big in like Europe or anything.
Yeah, I think they are because they're. I really hope I'm getting this right. I believe Cineplex is owned by Cineworld. Cineworld, it has a lot in Europe too.
Yeah, that I saw was like I think they're on the verge of a deal, but it's complicated. So I don't think they have bought them yet.
That's what it was. Yeah, I remember that. I feel like that news was like in the fall that they were going to be purchasing them, but I didn't know if it had gone through yet.
Yeah, no, I think like a week or two ago it was like it's up for debate.
It's still up in the air. Yeah. Well, that was if it was the fall, that's rough time to be in the theater buying business.
Yeah.
Because month later we all know what happened. All right, and we are back. So at the end of our last news segment, my power decided to go out. So if this episode is late, that is why. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Title of the episode today: big news breaking, exclusive via The Wrap. We have a story that Michael Keaton is returning, or at least is in talks to return as Batman in The Flash for the DCEU. So some more details on this have come out over the next over the past few hours, basically saying that in effect, Michael Keaton will be replacing Ben Affleck as the character. So that will be basically technically like the same character. And this will canonize Batman and Batman Returns as canon in the DCEU.
Okay.
And that, what do you want to call it? What's his name? It just went out of my head. Robert Pattinson. His movies will be completely separate, kind of like Joker, just completely not the same at all, completely separate.
I'm fine with.
Which I'm fine with. The main headline to take out of it, well, I shouldn't say the main headline. The main headline is the headline that Michael Keaton, after quick math, 28 years, is returning to his Batman character. But the secondary thing to come out of this is, for the first time in a while, these few weeks and months have shown us that DC has a plan. That looks like they're finally not going to go the Marvel route where they're just trying to rush to get to these team movies. It looks like they're taking their time. Reports are saying that his Batman character will kind of portray like a linchpin of the universe, kind of like Nick Fury style, where he's more of like the mentor recruiter type. Because another thing that came with this report is that the next likely thing that we would see his Batman in, besides The Flash, would be the Batgirl film, which I think would be very interesting. So, I mean, what do you think? I lost my mind when I saw this news come out. I was driving and I damn near had to pull over almost. I was like, well, this is what? Yeah. So what are your thoughts? I mean, after 28 years, it's very possible that we will have, by the time Flash comes out, it'll be exactly 30 years. Because it'd be 2022. So exactly 30 years later, we might be seeing Michael Keaton back as Batman. What are your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think's going to happen?
I think it's a pretty cool idea. I'm also like, at the same time, I'm wondering like, is Ezra Miller even going to be in the movie? Like, is he still playing Flash, or is he?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he tried to like write it, and then the previous director, right? Because they switched directors, was like, I want to go this route.
Like 4 directors, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a cool idea. So let me I'm going to ask you and see if I understand this correctly. So he's coming back to play. So he's going to play Affleck's Batman?
Basically, a fan theory that's been there for years,
Okay.
because Batman v Superman, I've been doing this for 25 years or whatever. It's like, oh, that kind of perfectly lines up to make him Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah.
So basically, in shorter terms, it's probably going to be more nuanced than that. But in shorter terms, they have basically just made it so that Affleck's Batman and Keaton's Batman are the same character.
Same person? Okay.
Yeah. So basically, see, it's crazy though, because then that means that every single Batman movie besides the Dark Knight trilogy has been the same character.
Yeah.
Because Poehler and Clooney are the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
And so now they're just basically saying, hey, the Affleck one was too.
Yeah.
And now we're bringing back Michael Keaton to finish it off, basically. Yeah. Which is crazy.
I don't think I mean, obviously it's like still a Flash movie, so I don't think he'll have that big of like a role. But it'll be like a nice, like, cool cameo and stuff like that. I feel like I heard about like this being a rumor like last year. Like, has this been a thing for a while, or is it just like
no, not really Michael Keaton coming back? No? That's been like, I mean, that was like for the Crisis on Infinite Earths event for CW. There's people that were like, oh, do you think maybe Keaton will come back for that?
Yeah.
But not in the movies.
Okay.
This was kind of like out of the blue, but I actually think it's going to be a lot more than a cameo. Because if they're going with a Flashpoint story, earlier this week there was reports that because Flashpoint, obviously a major character in Flashpoint is Batman, but not Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne. That's the one where it's his father. So there was a report earlier this week saying that Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be coming back in the Flash movie to portray Batman in the Flash movie. Obviously, Jeffrey Dean Morgan played Thomas Wayne in Batman v Superman, so it'd be still the same, universe and everything. Now they're saying this basically replaces that rumor. So somebody tweeted out that the Thomas Wayne Batman hasn't been in the script for years. That they're going with an actual Bruce Wayne. So if Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne is going to be kind of filling that Batman role in a Flashpoint type storyline, that is a massive role. If that's the kind of thing that he's filling in for.
Yeah.
You could be completely right. He could be something just shows up right at the end is like, we're putting a team back together. Very like something like that. But the only thing that, like, to me that's like it's gonna be hard to do is now Batman would be older than Alfred if they bring back Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons, yeah. That's the thing where it's like
it just is interesting to see where they're going to go with this.
I know, because there's not really like continuity with the actor's age, correct? Because
no, exactly, yeah.
From who was like the last one in like the 80s 90s Batman, and then it went to
Clooney.
So it went to Clooney, and then I went to Ben Affleck, and now it's going back to Michael Keaton, and you're like, okay.
Which, I mean, you could make the argument that, honestly, I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
I think no matter what they do, they're gonna wig up Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they wigged up Ben Affleck. Like, that was a wig. That Batman hair was a wig.
Yeah.
You just throw the same type of hair on Michael Keaton, and you just call it a day. You know what I mean? Like, honestly,
like Jack's Batman, like in BVS, and
I don't know. I don't think he's gonna be like jacked, but I mean
like bulky suit. Like, is he gonna be like the I don't know what that suit's called, but
I mean, I would like to see it be the Affleck suit, the what I call it, the duct tape looking suit, basically, like the gray with the big bat. I would like to see Keaton in that suit. I mean, this whole role could just be Bruce Wayne. That's the thing. All these reports are saying he's playing Batman, but it could just be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So temper expectations a little bit in that regard, I would say. But I would say my ideal situation is to maybe, if he's going to play a Nick Fury type role, have him pop up in Flash. Have him pop up in Wonder Woman 84, maybe.
Oh, that's
quick post credit.
Yeah.
Quick post credit. That would be crazy. Have him pop up in Shazam 2. All the movies that we have coming up. Have him pop up in all these movies as Bruce, and then finally have him suit up in like Justice League 2. You know what I mean? Like have him finally come back in Justice League 2, and just do like just have the same type of suit, but obviously he's just going to be a thinner Batman. You know what I mean? Like, let's see here. Hang on, I want to get Michael Keaton's age. Yeah, so he's 68 years old.
Is he really? That's older than I thought.
Let's see here.
He doesn't look that old.
Okay, so what did I just say, 68 or 63? Yeah. Okay, 68. Yeah, so George Clooney is 59. So, like, the age was never really there in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, the age continuity was kind of thrown out the window as soon as they recast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think whatever happens, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, also with this movie, you have to figure it's like a few years away because do they even have like a finished script?
I think the script is as finished now as it has been. Oh. Like I think you're absolutely right in that they have rewritten and reworked the script like multiple times. Yeah. But I think the script they're on right now is probably going to turn into the final movie.
The final one.
Yeah, like I think with the Flash movie, we're finally out of the meme territory of like, is this movie ever going to get made? Like I think we now have the only thing is, Ezra, what's going to happen with that, with the video and everything.
Who knows?
But I think we're as close to this getting made as possible, and I think it's amazing that we're going to have Keaton in there. And later on in the show, after our review, we are going to be ranking all of the movie Batman. So this is theatrically released actors that have played Batman in theaters. So we're going to be ranking those later on in the show for some more Batman talk. Like we said earlier, heavy Batman episode. Lots of Batman to go over. All right. Next story here is going to be that Cobra Kai finds a new dojo in Netflix. So season 1 and 2 of Cobra Kai were kind of the hallmark, the cornerstone show of YouTube, what used to be called YouTube Red, now called YouTube Premium. YouTube Premium's kind of trying to move away from scripted content, stuff like that. So the third and maybe final, I think it was third and final at YouTube, but now maybe there's more life to be had. The third season of Cobra Kai was already filmed in the can, but they were going to scrap it. It was canceled. Yeah, I know. It was canceled by YouTube.
Yeah.
But it was being heavily shopped around because obviously, I mean, it's kind of an anomaly that a show that good was on YouTube. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I never seen it, but I always I've just heard people like loved it, and I was always like, why is it on? It's on YouTube. That's why I was always like, I don't understand that, but okay.
Yeah, it's really good. It does a really, really. I don't want to. It's not really a spoiler, but have you ever seen Karate Kid?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it basically it flips it. It makes Daniel LaRusso the bad guy, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it follows oh my god, I'm forgetting his name, and I met the guy. Billy Zabka. It follows his character, who is, just trying to like live his life, and he meets a Daniel LaRusso type kid. He trains him up, reopens Cobra Kai, and I won't go into spoilers, but kind of has a hard time reconciling with the type of person he was back then.
Oh, okay.
And that's all I'll say with that. Very interesting thing happens at the end of the first season that kind of turns everything on its head. But basically the main thing is it makes Ralph Macchio and, Daniel LaRusso an asshole and kind of the villain of the series, which I think is very good. I think that's a big reason why it's so good, is because it really kind of flips it on its head there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, fantastic news. Picked up by Netflix of all places. So
they're really pushing the originals. I mean, it's I don't know if could you call it a Netflix original?
I mean, they called Clone Wars a Netflix original.
True.
and they did 6 episodes.
Yeah.
What's it called? So I think it'll definitely probably be referred to as a Netflix original from now on. And then I would be very, like I said, they were going to scrap it after this or before this 3rd season, even at YouTube. But I hope with the fan base already on the show and how many more people it's going to reach being on Netflix, I got to assume Netflix is going to give it a big push when it comes out.
Yeah.
They're saying here, Netflix is saying the seasons 1 and 2 will be added to Netflix this year.
Cool. Yeah.
And then season 3 will follow shortly after. So we might be looking at Cobra Kai season 3, like maybe start of 2021, I guess, maybe a little bit sooner than that, hopefully. But I would nonetheless, I would hope moving to Netflix gives it new blood and new life. So maybe we could see a season 4, season 5 type thing. Because I got to assume it's a relatively cheap show. There's like maybe 20 actors in it. And it's really simple, small sets. Probably doesn't cost that much. So hopefully, we can see a lot more of that coming. All right. And next up here, just a quick story. J.K. Simmons in an interview just said that, hey, J. Jonah Jameson fans, you have a lot more to look forward to in the MCU. And the Sunk or whatever they're calling it, the Sony universe of Marvel characters. That's what they're officially calling I'm going to call it the Venomverse until it's officially added to the MCU, which I think it should be. The SUMC and the MCU. So basically, along with Peter Parker, the other character that's going to be straddling both universes is going to be J. Jonah Jameson. What he officially says is that he has already filmed his next appearance. So one would assume that's Morbius, which also, another thing that's interesting is you could very well see Michael Keaton be at the very forefront of 2 big franchises because, you see Vulture's popping back up in Morbius. At this point, it's abundantly clear they're heading straight for a Sinister Six story, whether that's going to be a Sinister Six movie or a Spider-Man movie called like Spider-Man and the Sinister Six or something. But you got to imagine that Vulture's going to be like leading that. So you could very well see Michael Keaton playing a beloved Marvel character as a villain in one franchise and then reprising his Batman role like in the same year, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, you think about just already with one movie, how iconic a villain, like Michael Keaton shot Vulture up to like people call him, top 3 villains in the MCU. After one movie, and clearly he's back on board for many more movies to come in that role. So that would be definitely interesting to see. So yeah, if I had to guess, the cameo or appearance that J.K. Simmons is talking about is probably Morbius. Maybe it's Venom 2. Maybe he's in, or maybe it's both. Maybe he's going to be in Morbius and Venom 2. Maybe just anything in the Spider-Verse we have to look forward to J.K. Simmons in there. Do you want to, can you...
I know, I was just trying to look.
Oh.
Focus.
Can you go up to it and then come back?
There we go.
All right. Oh.
That's good.
All right.
Oh boy, this is a podcast full of problems today.
The editing on this one is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait. Started late, had a power outage. I didn't know what day it was. We had all these last minute news subjects. It's great. It's going to be great. All right. So last news story finally. Is that the 2021 Golden Globe ceremony, because last week, we talked about the Academy Awards pushing back, the Golden Globes are also going to delay themselves a little bit to February 28th, 2021. with both Tina Fey and Amy Poehler returning to host. So do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good move?
I think it's cool. I think did I watch last year? I forget. I might have watched like snippets because I thought they were good hosting because I think they did last year, right? If I'm correct, they hosted something.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. This is like their like 6th time hosting.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the ceremony from last year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily like watch it. I mean, I probably will watch it, but yeah, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Again, just like we talked about with the Oscars, it'll be interesting to see if them hosting this is going to be to an empty auditorium, or if it's going to be just like on a little set. You know what I mean? Honestly. Yeah. I mean, why rent out an empty auditorium when you could literally do it with a green screen in a living room? You know what I mean? That's what I'd have to assume by that point, is that it's going to be, kind of like a telecast thing where people will Skype in or Zoom in to accept their awards. But with that is finally going to be the end of the new news segment. So with that, the Planet Film Podcast will be right back in just a moment. All right, and we are back. Thank you so much for bearing with us on that. So now it's time for our segment, Tell Me What to Watch. I don't know what to watch.
Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
All right, well, today we are going to be reviewing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in anticipation for Bill and Ted Face the Music coming out in just about a month and a half here. August 14th. Definitely looking forward to that quite a bit. At some point between now and then, we will be reviewing Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey as well. But today we're going to be going ahead and starting off with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So just wanted to start off with some of the facts and figures here. So this was released in 1989. It had an estimated, it's not really available, the exact budget, but it's estimated that the budget was around $15 million. It opened to about $6.1 million and then ended its run with $40,485,000. So, it made a pretty good chunk of change for like a teen, like dumb teen comedy type thing, going into the 90s. Definitely, obviously had a lot of young people go see it with, Keanu Reeves off the back of, movies like he had been in movies like Parenthood and stuff like that at that time. That was all around there. And then Alex Winter, coming out of, relatively unknown. But, I mean, just to start off, I mean, this movie is like iconic, like if you hear anybody say like, be excellent to each other or like party on dudes, like that whole thing, like that's all comes from this. It's such an iconic movie that just became iconic almost instantly. And especially obviously once it got the home release and repeat viewings and repeat showings and stuff like that all the time. And then when obviously it'll be a different review, but just the sequel when it goes even bigger and even crazier. It's going to be interesting to see how the third one does because there's such a built-in fan following for these movies. It's going to be really interesting. But what would you say are your initial impressions? This was the first time you had seen it, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So what was your initial? Without getting too much into the story elements and stuff, what was?
Do you want me to give my star review on Letterboxd or no? Not yet.
We'll give that at the end of our initial thoughts. So just without getting into like story stuff, because what do you think were your initial thoughts on the movie and stuff like that? Because once again, just like last week, we did not look at each other's reviews, so I don't know what he thought of it, if he liked it or hated it or what. So go ahead and what'd you think?
So overall, I thought the movie was pretty funny. I don't go along with the whole like dumb high schooler like talk that I can't stand that for some reason. Like, because this is already like the movie was making I was thinking the whole time. I go, okay, what are we gonna do with this new one? I go, are we gonna talk the same way, or are we gonna, talk like we're adults? Like, I couldn't do the whole like, yo, dude, like, just I can't do like the whole like. It's almost like dumb jock kind of, but they're not jocks. They're like, they're in a band. I thought the plot was just like preposterous. I just was like, they have to go back in time. Can I say the plot? Is that fine?
Yeah, like just
okay.
like
they have to go back in time to grab these
like historical
figures to present a project, or if they don't, they're gonna fail high school and then
get sent to Oates Military Academy.
Military Academy. I thought it was funny. Like, it did its job. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
But, like, the overall like plot, I was just like,
you just didn't buy into it.
Exactly. I mean, like one of the jokes were like they don't call him Socrates. They keep calling him
Socrates.
Socrates.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. But I just didn't buy into the whole like language of it. I guess like the language.
Okay, I gotta know what's the star rating on this. This is
it's still pretty high. I gave it 3.5. So I still gave it like a decent score.
Wow.
Like, it doesn't bother me It's just like, it's not like I go watch 5 minutes of it and I have to turn it off because it's so like mind numbing to me or anything. And I'm not some like intellectual type person like that. Like, trust me. But it just kind of, I just couldn't.
You're no Scrooge.
Basically, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're no Scrooge. Yeah. Okay, so wow. Okay, I really did not expect that. I did not expect you to bring up issues like that. I give this for me. This is that's a 5 right there. To me, this is a perfect movie.
Perfect movie.
I think this movie is fantastic. I could, there's something going around Facebook or Twitter or something that's like, if you got paid like $100,000, what movie could you watch for 24 hours straight? It would be Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I would take either one. But to me, I mean, I don't even remember how old I was when I first saw this. Maybe I was like 14 or 15. Like, it definitely wasn't super early like some of the other movies that I love, but I was definitely probably in high school. I want to say I was probably like 14 or 15. But to me, this is a perfect movie. I could watch this movie. I love the like party on, dudes. Like, oh my God. And like, so did you? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the actual movie here. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try. Each week, we're kind of workshopping and tooling the structure of the reviews. So we're gonna go ahead this week. We're gonna try and run through the movie point by point. Going through from start to end to see if that if you guys like that more, if that generates a more on track conversation. Yeah. Let's just say, because sometimes we can get into a tangent or two. Which is nothing wrong with, but we want to make sure that we're hitting every aspect of the film and everything. So we have the opening. They're in the garage jamming out. They sound like shit. They can't play for anything. Then we cut to school. They're in history class, not paying attention at all. They both get told by their teacher. Basically typical, dumb movie stuff of well, you've been bad all year, but this one project will make or break you. Will make or break your entire high school career.
And that scene, like because the teacher calls on him, and obviously he doesn't know the answer. Yeah. And everybody laughs, and I'm just thinking to myself now. I go, okay, I can't tell if they're liked or if they're not liked. Because they're laughing at him or they're laughing with him. And I don't want to like skip too far ahead, but when they do the final presentation, they're laughing at them, it seems like. So
really? Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. Maybe not. Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so you have, obviously at this point you haven't seen the sequel yet, right?
No, I haven't seen.
Okay. Well, I would say there's nothing really in the sequel to there's nothing really in the sequel to let us know how they're looked at in high school.
Yeah.
Because the sequel is much bigger in scope.
Okay.
Much bigger.
I know, like the plot. I think. Like.
Yeah. But there's nothing that really tells us that. But I took it as just like it's just kind of the whole school's just kind of like, oh, that Bill and Ted, like they're like they got 1 or 8 screws loose type of thing. But yeah, so like they get called on, and he's like, listen to me, you guys got to, at least learn your subjects, and they're all written on the whiteboard, and it's all the names of course, spoiler, it's all the names of the people that you're gonna meet along the movie. So then they go home. They're like, what are we gonna do, man? Like we gotta like I can't. My dad's gonna send me to Oates Military Academy. Like what? And so they're kind of talking about life, kind of trying to study, doing a horrible job at it. They can't even read the names correctly. As you said, they call Socrates Socrates the whole movie, right up until the end, obviously, because at the end they get all the names perfectly right.
Yeah.
And then they are still talking, but they decide to go for a walk. They end up at the Circle K, and then that is when the phone booth lands.
Yeah.
Obviously, poking fun at the TARDIS from Doctor Who, in the absolute best way possible.
Yeah.
And then steps out the legend himself, George Carlin, as Rufus. Who is a fantastic character. Lets them know that he is there to save their history report, and their minds are blown. Then another phone booth lands. It's them, and they say, you're in for a excellent adventure.
Yeah. Which
I think the words excellent adventure is said like maybe 30 times in this movie, by a ton of different characters. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your whole thoughts on, the Rufus arrival scene and explaining the time travel and meeting themselves?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool scene. I do like the fact that they're meeting themselves, later in the movie, and then, later in the movie you see that exact scene like again.
Yeah.
I liked how it comes around like that. But yeah, overall I thought it was a good start. Like I thought, yeah. Like I don't have any problem. It's just how they talk. I think it's like just that's what gets to me is I can't just listen to that for some reason.
That's crazy.
This might be because you watched it a younger. I'm watching it now at 21. So maybe it does. Maybe if I was 10, 11 years old, it would have hit me different. Maybe or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm gonna watch the sequel. I'm gonna watch.
Yeah. Both sequels now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm waiting to watch the trailer for the third one until I watch the second one. I mean, it probably doesn't.
Oh, you haven't watched the trailer?
No, I watched
okay,
it.
okay,
yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, you can look forward. We'll probably we'll do a trailer reaction for his first time watching the trailer. So you could definitely look forward to that. I would say, in terms of the whole Circle K scene, I think that the time travel in this movie is the best, most simple interpretation of time travel in any movie.
Yeah,
it's literally just, oh, this happened, so it happened. Yeah. That's it. No crazy butterfly effect.
We're removing them from the timeline, so now all this is going to change in the world in the future.
Exactly. It basically is the same style of time travel as Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Where they pull Billy the Kid out of his timeline, or let's say even more, Abraham Lincoln is probably a better example. They pull Abraham Lincoln out of the timeline. Abraham Lincoln goes to the future, sees a modern day high school, and then they put him back in his timeline. That's not going to affect their world. It's basically just you pull them out for 5 seconds and you just plunk them back in, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Plug and play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that is a scene that we'll talk about later, which I think is the quintessential best time travel scene in any film, ever is in this movie, and we will talk about it later. So then, they meet themselves. He says, make sure you say hi to the princesses for me.
Yeah.
And he goes, Ted, remember to wind your watch.
Yeah.
And then the second Bill and Ted from later in the movie shoot off again. And then Rufus says, right this way, shows them how to use the time machine. And bang, we are in France in, I believe it's 1804 or 1805.
During the French Revolution, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we are at a war site, which is another thing that's like interesting, kind of makes sense why the budget is so much on this. The period costumes and period sets that they had to build for this movie is crazy. Like they had to recreate like battle scenes, Old West, like a whole bunch of crap. And sorry, let me just see here. So then you see Napoleon, and Napoleon orders them to fire at the phone booth. And then somehow Napoleon gets hit with a cannon, flies onto the phone booth as they're time traveling back. So Napoleon's holding on to the time booth going, because I should mention the way that time travel works in this physically is that you go through the circuits of history, which are literally just like a whole bunch of cables that you go through, and then it pops you out at the end of it. So Napoleon is surfing through the cable of history on the back of the thing. Then they land back at their house. Napoleon's in the tree. And then Rufus, says, you're on your own. Like, I'm not going with you. Rufus takes off. A new phone booth lands. And then Napoleon falls out of the tree. They got to figure out what to do with him. So I believe it's Ted's brother. They give him to Ted's brother to watch, to make sure that he's okay. And then they take off in the time machine, and we're going. So now we're going to go ahead and just, go rapid fire through, just talk about each of these little vignettes as they come. So the first one that they go to is the Old West with Billy the Kid. What do you think about that whole scene with Billy the Kid in the card game and like the Old West shootout and stuff?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I liked the Billy the Kid character. It's funny because after about, I want to say like, because Socrates is like Socrates is like the third one.
You're talking like him now.
I know the third.
After Billy the Kid. Yeah.
I told myself, I'm like, okay, how many more? I go, you only needed one each. You got 3 now. I was like, how many more do you need? Because I was like, well, the movie's like only half an hour in. Not even. I go, it's another hour. But no,
and then he realized they're going for everybody.
Yeah, the Billy the Kid scene is one that like escapes me. I don't exactly. I remember like they were at the card game and he's obviously cheating, and they flip the table and the whole fight breaks out and everything. And
that's basically it. The whole fight breaks out, and then the 3 of them manage to run out of the saloon, over to the phone booth. Yeah. And then they take off.
I do think it's funny when they're in the phone booth and they take off and everybody's like, "Well,
yeah, like what even like it's not even because it's a look of not even like how did they do that? It's a look of like what did I just see?
Yeah, exactly.
what was that? B, where'd they go? Like
I just saw a UFO, but I don't know what a UFO is because I'm in.
Exactly. Yeah, like. It's not so much how is that phone booth flying as it is what is a phone booth? What are those people? Why do they look like that? Yeah. So then after Billy the Kid, then we land in ancient Greece, right? Yeah. And then we're seeing Socrates or Socrates give a philosophical analysis of life, if you want to call it that, to an audience. And then they try to what does Bill say? He tries to philosophize with him. And he tells Socrates that we're all just dust in the wind, man. And then Socrates has the fantastic line, which I don't know if you got the reference, but my mom, all my life, she's watched the soap opera Days of Our Lives. And the thing that they say at the start of every episode of Days of Our Lives is, like the sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. And that's why Socrates says that, because he takes the we're all just dust in the wind, man.
Yeah.
And Socrates just goes like sands in the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. And that's like the big, because obviously like that soap opera was huge in like the 80s.
Mhm.
So that's like a great joke for a very specific amount of people. And then so after Socrates, they go to just find anyone historic, basically. So they end up in it's like maybe like 1600s England, I guess, or like 1600s England, maybe before that, I don't know. And they're just basically like a generic castle, and they tell Billy to stay at the phone booth and watch Socrates, make sure he doesn't run off and do anything. And then that's when you meet the princesses, which future Ted told current Ted about, to say hi to the princesses for me. There's a fight. Bill thinks that Ted is dead, so he tries to kill a knight, and then, spoiler, Ted's not dead. Ted clubs the knight over the head. They're captured, and they are at the, what is that? Not a guillotine, but a executioner.
Execution.
Whatever it's called. Yeah, like a beheading, basically.
Yeah.
And they're about to be beheaded. And then somehow, some way,
I actually thought this was like, I knew they were gonna come. I knew like somehow they're gonna save them. I did not expect them to be the people wielding the axes.
Yeah,
that actually got me. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know how you got there, but okay.
So exactly. I don't know how they got there, but then the executioners lift up their axes. They slam it down, cutting the ropes, freeing Bill and Ted, and then you realize that the executioners are Socrates and Billy the whole time. Somehow. I have no idea how or why, but so they get out of there. And then for some reason they have the phone booth on top of a cart. Yeah, and so like that, then they pull that around, they all jump out and escape, and then they're getting chased by this knight. They break off a piece of the roof and it falls in front of the knight, so he can't chase them anymore. They break ahead, but then you start to see for the first time that there's something wrong with the time machine, that it's not letting them dial the numbers. And then they dial it again. Finally, it works, and they can take off to go to another time. And then now is time to basically catch up with San Dimas. So here we have Napoleon eating a whole bunch of ice cream.
I thought this scene was funny.
Oh yeah, the
table.
He got the Ziggy Piggy, right? He got the Ziggy Piggy ice cream award because he ate it's like a huge pot of ice cream and Napoleon downs it in one sitting.
Those are the two characters I couldn't stand though, were those ice cream workers. Couldn't stand them.
Oh yeah.
Like, shut up. They keep oinking and everything. I was like, please stop. If this is a restaurant I was eating at, I would leave.
You'd be like, no, we're good actually, and you said, and we will not be paying.
Yeah,
thank you.
I would still pay, but.
And then so after that, then we go on kind of a quick, like succession, just really short scenes of picking up the rest of the gang. So then they drop in and they steal Sigmund Freud. Beethoven's performing at a party. They nab him off the piano. They lure Genghis Khan in with a Twinkie. And then they tell Abe Lincoln that they're a candygram, and then they steal the president somehow. And then now it is completely apparent that the phone booth is over full. It's all fully stuffed, and it is totally apparent that the antenna is completely busted. So there's something wrong with the time machine. They get spit out in like caveman times, like prehistoric times.
Yeah.
And the only thing that they have is a bunch of chewing gum. So everybody chews up a bunch of gum. They get a whole wad of gum, stick the thing back together. The antenna is fixed finally. And then finally they go back to San Dimas. And then we cut back again to Napoleon bowling with Ted's brother.
Yeah.
He trying his best to bowl. And then for some reason, again, Ted's brother ditches Napoleon. They leave the bowling alley, and then Napoleon gets kicked out because he doesn't have any money. He doesn't really know what the guy is yelling at him for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then
real quick. I think you missed. Oh wait, maybe that's later when they go to the planet.
Oh, you're right. Yes, I did.
That is one thing I had that is the one thing I had a problem with. Not the one thing, but one of the things that I was like, I just don't. I mean, it was when the antenna was broken, so I'm thinking I was like, oh, they probably just got spit out there because they couldn't like control where they were going. But I was like, that whole scene was just like pointless in my mind. I was like, they're just playing their music, but nobody says anything, if I recall correctly. Like the leaders of the planet don't say anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a chance for you to show that their music is part of this planet's culture. And then
I think that's why. I mean, all right. I don't want to say that it drastically affects it, but I mean, I would say that kind of lends something to the sequel more so. Them seeing that because you spend some more time
there
with the future culture.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also in this movie, it just helps set up later on. Rufus tells them how important they're going to be, and he's like, I think you were there. You saw it.
Yeah.
So I do understand that. It didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a way to kind of show. Also, I think it was maybe like a way to show, like, oh, time travel, like they can go to the future too. Like I think it was just because they had the actors and they had the set that day.
Yeah, they don't have to just go back; they can go forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But like I said, I think that does more to lend help to the sequel. Because the sequel is much more about their importance to that place and that culture and that music. But yeah, that happened right when like the antenna was broken. They showed up in the future. All right. So now after Napoleon gets ditched, we're now back in San Dimas. The antenna's fixed and they land at the Circle K. This is the Bill and Ted that we met at the beginning of the movie. When they land, they have a conversation with Rufus. You see the other perspective of the original conversation. And then they let Rufus know that there was something wrong with the time machine, that it brought them back to that night instead of the next day. And he goes, you have to dial one number higher to get to the right day. So then they're back in the right time. I believe they said it's, 2 hours. This is like noon. They're back at San Dimas. Like it's about 3 hours until their presentation is due. So we land, and we should also mention that Bill's dad has married the character Missy,
yes,
who is a couple of years older than Bill and Ted.
Yes.
Or maybe even just like 1 year older than Bill and Ted.
And there's a kind of a weird, it's not even like, I wouldn't even call it a subplot because it's like, but he keeps calling her by her her first name instead of he doesn't call her mom. And so obviously his dad is infatuated with her and Ted is infatuated with her. But then you get like some weird thing where to skip ahead a little bit, they end up doing their presentation, but we'll tell you how they get there. And his stepmom comes in and she loves their teacher, which I thought that was bizarre. I was like,
oh, long time no see.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little weird, but
yeah, I think the idea is definitely that Missy has that effect on the men of San Dimas.
Yeah.
And he even tells Sigmund Freud later on that he has a bit of an Oedipus complex. Well, what's it called? So they land, and they land right next to Missy. She has no remark whatsoever at the fact that a phone booth just landed from space right next to her. Yeah. And everybody comes out. They give everybody fake names like Bob Genghis Khan. And then they just say Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And so they ask Missy to take them to the mall because they know that what's it called? They know that Napoleon is missing because they talked to his brother, and his brother was like, "Oh, I ditched him."
Yeah.
So they all go to the mall, and basically chaos breaks out, or I should say, before they go to the mall, they all have to. She says you have to do your chores. So then everybody, there's like a 1 minute sequence, montage of all the historical figures doing the chores around the house.
Yeah.
Then they all go to the mall, and then Bill and Ted's like, all right, stay here at the food court. We have to go and find Napoleon.
Yeah.
So they're like, where do you, if you were Napoleon in San Dimas, where would you go? And the name of the what do you call it? Water park is Waterloo, obviously, because very funny. So then you cut to Napoleon at the water park, sneaking in with a family of kids. What do you have something you want to say?
I love this like montage of him going down water slides, but in my head I was like, who would I replace this actor with? And I just thought of it. I go, Danny DeVito. Can you picture Danny DeVito going down some water slides in the water park? I think it'd be the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That would have been great. But yeah, so you have a fantastic montage of him yelling at children, cutting in front of children, running past them, and experiencing a water park for the first time. And then obviously it's a great montage, and then it ends with, he goes down one of the slides, and then when he gets out this time, Bill and Ted are there with a towel, and they're like, we gotta go. And he's like,
we gotta go.
He's like, I don't want to he's like super angry. All right, so then we cut back to the mall. The rest of our historical figures have left the food court. You have Joan of, or I should have said earlier too, Joan of Arc is somebody that they got. Joan of Arc goes, and she's at an aerobics class.
She's running an aerobics class.
Yeah. Beethoven finds the music shop with all
jamming
the
out. Jamming.
Absolutely jamming out. Genghis Khan goes nuts in a sports store.
Yes.
We have Sigmund Freud, Billy the Kid, and Socrates trying to pick up girls at the food court. They call Sigmund Freud a geek. They don't understand what that means. Socrates finds it funny. And then basically one way or another, all of their different antics gets them arrested. So the security kicks them all out, and then they all get processed. And did we mention earlier, I think, that Ted's father is the
did not mention that.
Okay. Yeah, Ted's father is the police chief, so he arrests all the historical figures. Some really funny stuff at the precinct when they're like telling him, and Freud's like, I am Sigmund Freud. And he said, why do you keep saying that? And he says, why do you keep asking me if I'm not Sigmund Freud? And then he says, tell me about your mother.
That was funny.
That was funny. Another one I would have loved, if we're just going like crazy casting on this, I think Sean Connery as Sigmund Freud in this.
Oh my God.
Just totally wouldn't fit, but I think that would just be very funny. Henry Jones Sr. style. All right, so then they go to the precinct then to try and bust everybody out once they have Napoleon. And basically they need the keys to get in. And this is the scene that I was talking about, where I think this is the absolute best shown use of time travel in a movie. Is Bill and Ted are talking, and they go, but we need your dad's keys to get into to get them out. And he goes, yeah, but we have a time machine. We can just get them. And he's like, but when are we going to get them? And he says, later. We'll just remember to get the keys, and I'll just like put them around here, like near that sign. Yeah. He's like, near that, under that sign. And he's like, okay. And then they go over, and he says, like right here, and he pulls them up, and the keys are just there.
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes, all right, well, we got to remember to do that. And then Ted just goes, but we have them, so we did. and that's like, that's it. That is like the funniest thing. I think that is just the funniest use of time travel, and just like the simplest thing to show how this works. And then later, like a few minutes later, there's another one where they're trying to sneak through the precinct to try to not be noticed that there's two teenagers sneaking through a police precinct. And he's like, well, you got to remember to set the tape recorder on a timer to go off. And he's like, well, what do you want it to say? And he just goes, I don't know. And then you just start hearing the tape recorder to distract his dad. And then they get in, they get all the historical figures out of prison. They escape through the window. Missy brings them all to school, and just as the teacher's about to give them an F, the lights go down, and they are able to do their presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the presentation obviously is one of the best parts of the whole movie.
Yeah.
They have little spots for everybody. What are your thoughts on the presentation? What are some of your favorite moments from the presentation?
I thought it was cool. I like the oh my god, what's his name? Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud, yeah.
Freud, yeah.
Yeah.
I like when he's like doing what? I'm sorry. What is he? A therapist, psychiatrist?
Yeah, he's a psychiatrist. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I love when he's like laying on the couch or on the thing, and he's just talking about like his life and why his dad is like the way he is and everything.
Yeah.
And it's not even like you could like make it like a realization of like why does my dad talk to? Why does he want to see me? But it's kind of like in just like a funny way, you know?
Yeah,
It's not,
yeah.
like,
Like,
too
it
deep or
could have
anything.
gotten like dark.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was
But
just
it's
like, yeah. And then obviously that gives us the main GIF that everybody uses of Keanu standing up into frame, going,
Yeah.
"Whoa," with his like hair all
Yeah.
out. And then you have the great scene with Abraham Lincoln making the speech, saying "Party on, dudes." The whole crowd cheers. They get an A on their project. Then we head back. Some amount of time has gone by.
Mhm.
We're back in the garage. They Bill, I should say, both of their dads also go see, and they see the project, and they see that their sons are actually doing their work and like have a good presentation and stuff. So they're not going to the military academy anymore. Then we cut back to the garage, just like at the beginning of the movie, and they're jamming out.
Yeah.
And then they're talking to each other about what they should do next. And Bill says, maybe we should finally get Eddie Van Halen to play with us. And then Ted more professionally says, maybe we should actually learn to play.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And then the time machine is back, and Rufus steps out with the princesses.
Mm-hmm.
So the princesses are now in San Dimas with them. He tells them that they are fated to align the planets and make universal contact possible, and complete peace with everyone in the universe. And it's all thanks to their music and them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when he goes, and I believe you were there. The future place with the music, that was because of you. And then Rufus asks to jam. There is a obvious stand-in playing guitar for George Carlin, as George Carlin goes like this in the frame. And then Bill and Ted start to play. They're awful. Rufus looks at camera and says, "They do get better." Cut to black. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is over. What are your thoughts? What are some things that we haven't brought up? Favorite moments, least favorite moments? What else do you think?
I feel like we covered everything.
Yeah.
All my favorite parts I basically talked about. I thought, like I said, I think there's it's funny.
Yeah.
I just like I said, I don't not like the movie. It's just the language. I don't like the way they talk.
Well, that's just to me, I guess the only thing I would say is just that to me, that's crazy. That's to me at least, that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? That's to me, the whole essence of these movies is the way that they speak. I guess.
I mean, who knows? I might in the second one, I might be this is this makes it even better. I don't know. First one, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So yeah, definitely look forward to the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey review that we will be doing soon. Once again, my star rating for this, I set it at a 5 out of 5. TJ's at a, what was it?
3.5.
3.5 out of 5. So that was our review for Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure. Getting ready for the release of Bill and Ted Face the Music, which is going to be coming out very soon here. So now that the review is complete, we're going to be going ahead and wrapping up today's show with our Shooting the Shit segment, where we will be ranking the on-screen actors that have played Batman. So we are going to be going through, and obviously there are more than this in some of the animated works, but we were going for the mainstream Batmans and the theatrically released Batmans, most importantly. So just in order of appearance, we're going to be going through Adam West, Michael Keaton, Kevin Conroy, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and Will Arnett. So let's start off with the lowest on the totem pole. Who do you think is out of these 8 actors, who is the worst on-screen Batman?
This is tough. I'm leaning towards I don't want to put Will Arnett at the bottom, but it's just he's just okay, he's just doing a voice. No, I can't.
I would say
it's between. I know for me. Granted, I haven't seen Adam West his movies, Batman or anything, or the show, but I know that he brought the character to life in everything. But my bottom, my 3 for the bottom would be either Keaton, Kilmer, or Clooney. For me,
Keaton, Kilmer, or Clooney?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which one.
Whoa.
I didn't say Keaton.
You said Keaton.
Yeah, I said. I don't know which one it would be.
That's wow. That is crazy. All right, we're gonna fight on that one. Oh my God, Keaton even in contention for the last one. Okay,
you got to give me. Okay, who would you put at the bottom then?
I
feel like it's hard.
At the bottom, I would put Adam West at the bottom, because for me, the way that I'm interpreting this, I am going for embodiment of the character.
Okay.
So to me, like you said, in another version of this list, absolutely, I would say, Will Arnett. Okay, he's been in 3 movies as the character, but he just really does the voice.
Yeah.
But to me, I think Will Arnett, in my personal list, I mean, I don't know, because we're going to be making this list between the two of us. I don't know where he's going to end up. But for me, I think Will Arnett is on the higher end of the actors that embody the character of Batman. That really nail what it is to be Batman and understand it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So for me, and no fault of his own, I just think that Adam West, to me, would be at the bottom. Because, I mean, somebody's got to be at the bottom, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to be at the top. It's not saying that he's bad. Obviously.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of where I'm like, I know he's not, I've never seen it, but I know he's not bad because I know he brought the character to life originally on TV and in movies in 1960 something.
And so we're just gonna, kind of go through this list.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make a preliminary one. Then we're gonna read off what we have and make any changes. Then we'll do our final list.
Okay.
So forgive the typing also, because I'm going to be typing this up as we're talking about it. If there's any changes. So then let's say, after Adam West, who would you say you think maybe comes next?
Not gonna lie, totally forgot Affleck was on the list.
Yeah.
He might be closer to the bottom then. I don't know. This is
crazy.
This is tough.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say my next pick would definitely be for embodying the character. Yeah. I would say my next pick for number 7, so second from the bottom, would be George Clooney. I think George Clooney.
Okay. What can you remind me what movie was? Which one was
Batman and Robin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The thing with those movies is Batman and Robin, and which is the other one that just Batman Forever, right? Was those Schumacher? Those are so campy that I just especially Batman and Robin. They're all just a little off the wall.
Literally.
No,
when the Batmobile drives up the wall.
No, yeah. Because Keaton is just Batman, and a Kilmer is what is that called? The one with
Batman Forever.
The one with Penguin?
No. That's Batman Returns. That's my.
That's one. Yeah. So like thinking of yeah, I still for me though Ben Affleck still like lower. Like I don't know. I didn't like his Batman.
Well, let's do this. Let's do. All right, so we're kind of doing this live.
Yeah.
So bear with us here, but let's do this. Let's make 2 different lists.
Okay.
Let's have you do one, and I'll do another one. Then we'll combine them at the end. Might be a little similar to another show out there that we listen to, but we're not trying to infringe on anybody's podcast prerogative. It's just there's really no other way to do it, unfortunately. But what's it called? All right. So you would still put Adam West at the bottom?
Yeah, I would agree with Adam West.
Okay, so then you're saying Affleck next for worst?
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be crazy. All right, yeah, this is good, and then we'll just do one apiece basically.
Okay.
So my number 7, I would definitely put Clooney.
Okay.
All right. So who would your number 6 be? Who would your second from the last?
Well,
be?
thinking about the 3, then I'd probably put Clooney above that.
Okay. This is dangerous. Even for the internet, this is dangerous. All right, so then 6, I gotta go Val Kilmer. I think he's good, but I think there's a definitive top 5 out of these guys here. Mm-hmm. All right, so who would you go with for 5? So right now you have Michael Keaton, Kevin Conroy, Christian Bale, and Will Arnett left.
And Val Kilmer.
Oh, yes, and you still have Val Kilmer. Yep.
Thinking Val Kilmer's Batman Returns. I probably have to go. No, yeah, I'd probably have to go with Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer next?
Yeah.
Now, to me, this is where it starts to get difficult. To me, I think the bottom 3 are easy. Now, I think these last 5 are where it really starts to get difficult.
Okay.
I think I would put, if we're talking embodiment of Batman, as much as I like this actor as Batman, and I do like the movies that he's, I like some of the movies that he's in, some parts of them. As much as I like him as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, I think I'm going to have to go Ben Affleck at 5.
Okay.
Just because with the killing and just all that stuff, like there's just some things that just don't feel like Batman with his character. But that's really the only reason that I would put him at number 5. All right, so who would you go with?
Now I have Keaton,
Conroy, Bale, and Will Arnett.
I'd probably put Will Arnett at 4.
Okay. So for my number 4, I would agree. I would put Will Arnett at number 4. I think his portrayal, I think obviously there's a reason that he was an absolute standout in the first Lego movie, which granted him getting his own standalone film. And I still think that movie nails Batman as a character more than maybe any other Batman movie ever has.
That was something I wasn't fond of the Lego movie 1 and 2 like a lot of people were. Mm-hmm. I did like Lego Batman a lot.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah. I fell asleep in the Lego movie Part 2.
Yeah.
I fell asleep, which is not a good sign.
Yeah.
Why'd
you do the Robert De Niro face?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've fallen asleep with the Legos. It's not a good look. I don't know. Okay, so bad impressions aside, I did not care for. I liked him in Lego 1 and 2. Obviously, I think he has a bigger role, I would say, in the first Lego movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved Lego Batman. I thought Zach Galifianakis. If we were doing Jokers, Zach Galifianakis to me would be high up there. Because I think his characterization as the Joker is so funny. The whole thing of literally making it that like the Joker gets jealous when Batman is fighting other people.
Yeah.
I mean, that pretty much walks the
Yeah.
line of with like Mark Hamill's Joker. You know what I mean? Where it's like Mark Hamill has that, especially Hamill's version in the Arkham games, like definitely has that where like he has an unhealthy attachment where he gets jealous of other people playing with his Batman. You know, I think that movie really nailed that. Just there's so many things that the Lego Batman movie really nailed. All right, so now we're in top 3 territory. So
You're gonna be mad at me.
You have left Keaton, Conroy, and Christian
You're
Bale.
gonna be mad. I think I'm going Keaton 3.
Okay. All right.
You probably know where I'm going with the rest of the list.
Well,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know. All right. Okay. All right. My number 3.
Yeah.
See, it's so tricky. Because when you're talking about embodiment of the character,
Yeah.
it means such a different thing than like performance.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in my number 3. I'm going to go Michael Keaton. Only because I think Michael Keaton does a better job embodying Bruce Wayne. I think if we were doing who is the best Bruce Wayne on this list, I think we would be going with... if we're going who is the best Bruce Wayne, I think we're talking Affleck and Keaton fighting out for the top. Because I think Affleck's Bruce Wayne is really good.
Yeah.
Characterization aside, you know, he can't really help some of that stuff. But like, just he's got the look, he's got the swagger, he's got everything that like Bruce Wayne should be. But yeah, I would put Keaton at 3 just simply because I think he's a better Bruce Wayne than a Batman. But he still makes my number 3. You know.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the same 1 and 2 choices here.
Yep.
So you got Kevin Conroy or Christian Bale. Who's your number 2?
Conroy is number 2.
Kevin Conroy at number 2. All right, so that locks in Christian Bale as TJ's number 1
What was that?
Batman. Huh?
Oh,
Hey, no,
God.
nothing. All right, so my number 2 I would put as Christian Bale. Would be
Wow.
my number 2 for Batman. I would say that my number 1 then obviously is Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. And I think they're, in my opinion, they're interchangeable. Like the only problem I have with like even though he's my number 1, Christian Bale, the only problem I have with his Batman is the voice.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even do it. But I like Kevin Conroy. I think
Where are the drugs going?
exactly.
Rip headphone listeners.
Kevin Conroy's voice, I think, is perfect.
Kevin Conroy's voice as Batman should be dubbed over any actor that plays Batman ever in the future.
Yes.
There's a reason that he has the most appearances as Batman and has been playing him the most amount of time. Well, if Keaton comes back, but we should say the most consistently over time. Because you're talking Kevin Conroy has been playing him since the early 90s. Yeah. Consistently. Still playing him. He could be... there's rumors of a 4th or 5th, it would be, Arkham game. 4th with him and Hamill and stuff. There's rumors of a 4th Arkham game that he could be recording right now as we speak. You know what I mean? Like, he could be playing the character now. I know. Right. But yeah, I think in terms of embodiment of Batman, when I think who is Batman, and there was even that whole, when Arkham Knight came out, the whole trailer thing, the whole build-up was all these different voice actors saying, like, reading the line of, like, I'm Batman, like that whole thing. And then it ends with Kevin Conroy finally saying, like, everyone else aside, I'm Batman. Like... And it's just his voice is like
yes.
I had the privilege this past Niagara Falls Comic-Con of meeting him. I was able to actually I got my picture with him, and I was able to actually go up to his autograph booth and like have a conversation with him. And he is a super nice guy, and he will flip that Batman voice on a dime.
Oh, really?
Like it is crazy. It's like it's scary to witness. Like the fact because he sounds so nice and everything like normally, and it's just really like one octave lower than his speaking voice. But I mean, it's just so it's like it's got the intimidation. It's got the gristle.
I think it's got like grit too.
Yeah,
like,
and it doesn't, and it's not. He's not like gargling gravel like Bales. You know what I mean? Like Bales.
No, I know
go,
that. Like,
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where's Rachel?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where are the drugs going? Like Kevin Conroy just sounds like, where's Rachel? Yeah. Where are the drugs going? You know what I mean? Like
that is one thing I do like it when that's one thing I do like about Ben Affleck's is I do kind of like the voice modifier thing. I love like I like auto-tune, like synthesizer type stuff like that. Like did Clooney, Kilmer or Keaton weren't they just doing like voices?
Yeah, no, they were just doing a regular voice. Like like Keaton's would be like Keaton was I guess what I would say was the most voicey, because he has like the he's the kind of originator of the I'm Batman, like that voice, like because he's hanging the guy over the edge and he goes, where are you, man? And he goes, I'm Batman, and then he drops him. There we go. That's actually another thing that I just thought of. It makes even more sense now too to merge those characters into one, because I just remembered. Do you remember in Justice League they had the Batman '89 theme in Justice League? Yeah. When the Batmobile was going through the final battle, they were playing it because Danny Elfman did the same music. Yeah. So they did the like they literally pulled that same theme over, so it makes sense to make those the same character now. All right, so let's attempt to make this into one list. Okay. All right. So who would we say? All right. So we got to. I feel like Kevin Conroy should be number one, in my opinion.
And I'll get that's fair.
I feel like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we would put Christian Bale at number 2. And then
Michael Keaton's fine. Will Arnett's fine.
So all right. So what do you think? So you have Affleck low. Yeah. So technically, I have Val Kilmer at 5. You have Val Kilmer at 6. I guess if we're combining, we would have to put Val Kilmer next. So Val Kilmer at 5.
Okay. Yeah. All right. No. Yeah. That's fine.
All right, and then I would go Affleck, Clooney, and then Adam West.
Okay.
All right. So all right. So it's going to be Kevin Conroy at number 1, Christian Bale number 2, Michael Keaton at number 3, Will Arnett at number 4, Val Kilmer at number 5, Ben Affleck number 6, George Clooney number 7, and Adam West number 8. All right. So those are our rankings of the actors who have portrayed Batman on screen. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to know next, where Pattinson ranks on this list. That's going to be next.
Completely
see if maybe, see if maybe where Pattinson lists, and also see if Michael Keaton does reprise the role. If our estimation of him as the character changes, could go up, could go down. We don't really know. But our final order for this week. Do you want to go ahead and do the final order this week?
Yeah. So for the final order, you can tweet at us using @PlanetFilmPod or email us at planetfilmpod@gmail.com. And we want to know, how would you rank each portrayal of Batman? Is it similar to ours? Is it different? What are your opinions? Why do you think that? So just let us know. Either tweet us or email us.
All right. Yeah. So like you said, let us know what your take on this is. Were we right? Were we wrong? Are we crazy? Is Ben Affleck your number 1? Is Adam West your number 1?
Yeah.
But with that, I think that'll do it for this week's episode of Planet Film. You want to hit it with the last line?
Yep. Stay safe, and remember, always live your life a quarter mile at a time.
Take it easy.